the same research that you see published in books on cereal grasses, the research that was done in Kansas by Dr. Kohler, Dr. Turner, Charles Seibold, many others that you'll see in books on wheatgrass, was done in Kansas on dehydrated wheatgrass grown in Kansas and harvested at this joining stage, which only happens 4 days a year. So my exposure to wheatgrass as a food came through that research. It wasn't until about 6 or 7 years later that I found out that people were growing it in trays and using the same research on dehydrated to support the idea of growing in trays. What happens when cereal grass is growing under natural conditions, it is growing in cold weather. So as sugars are produced by the plant through photosynthesis, it has the cold nights and the cold weather and the sunshine and all to convert those sugars into more complex nutrients. George Kohler showed that wheat grown 7 days, 10 days, is only about 25% the nutrient level of wheat harvested at the joining stage, which occurs in the spring. When you're growing it inside, it's even less. From a farmer's point of view, wheat is a cold weather crop. It's something that you grow in very cold conditions. You plant it in the fall, you let it grow slowly over the winter. Then it gets to the joining stage, and all farmers understand the joining stage. Because the deeper green that wheatgrass is, the more that it's grown during the cold weather of winter, and had that long, slow growth, the greener and the lusher that grass is, the more grain you're going to get. The wheatgrass is the, or any cereal grass, barley grass, ryegrass, any of those, the concentration of nutrients that have developed in that plant as it approaches the joining stage determines how much grain you're going to get. That grass is the supplier of nutrients for the growing grain. You can go with our wheat fields, if we didn't cut them, within about 2 weeks they go from this tall to this tall. And at the end of those stalks would be a almost mature head of grain. It'd still be green, but it would have grain. So all that nutrition is stored in that young grass is what makes that happen, what makes it grow so quickly. So the idea of growing in trays is kind of hard for me to comprehend being a farmer, because I know that you can never get that to grow into grain, and you have a very spindly, pale green, by comparison, plant that's been forced to grow very tight and close together because the seeds are 300 times closer together than they should be. It doesn't have the chance to stool out and to soak in 200 days of sunshine and all the things that go along with it. It's hard for me to understand how some of these people who write the books on growing wheatgrass in trays can say, on the one hand, use all the research that was done on dehydrated wheatgrass grown in Kansas and harvested at this special 4-day period that only happens once a year, and use that research and quote it in the books and say, hey, this is a great food, grow it in a tray. It's hard for me to understand that logic, and then to later say it's got to be used fresh, don't use dehydrated. How can they use the data on what a great food, all the research that's been done on animals and humans on dehydrated wheatgrass, use that to say it's great food and then say not to use it